in church that we're going to be dancing, which is really awesome. So you're all invited with us to go dancing next time because Mike and I love to dance. But we were talking about communication, and especially communication in marriage. And we are going to, okay, we're going to fix it here. We are going to, I'm going to keep talking. We are going to talk even more about communication, effective communication, because I'm going to tell you, effective communication makes all the difference of success in life and not. And it's not just about marriage. So we are definitely going to touch on some marriage stuff today, but this communication is for everybody. This is for your communication with your friends, with your coworkers, with your neighbor. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, we got a fun message planned for you, and it's always fun when we get to preach together.
Come on, Mike, really? Is it really always fun? It is not always fun, is it, honey?
It's not always fun when we practice preaching together. You wouldn't want to be at our house when we're going through our message.
Yeah. So we're going to actually show you a little bit about what happened this week, because we want to be really transparent and we want to be honest with you about what communication, marriage of 32 years can look like, even with a pastor's family.
So, Holly, don't forget that we're doing the Valentine's Day message next Sunday, okay? Don't forget that.
What are you talking about?
What? I told you.
You
I was
never
so
told
clear.
me. You never told me about the Valentine's
We were on our
message.
way to Brian and Jeanette's for a nice romantic dinner with them, just hanging out. And you said you would do the message.
I remember that day. I was lost and we were following the GPS. I was paying attention to the GPS trying to get there. I was not listening. I didn't really hear you. Come on. That is not the time that you should be telling me things when I'm paying attention to the GPS.
Why did you say yes?
I didn't say yes to doing a Valentine's. Mike, do you realize there's a Valentine's dinner the night before? Are you kidding? We're not going to be able to do both things, a Valentine's dinner the night before and church.
So did you forget
Sunday?
Also that we were going to go at midnight to check out this business that we're thinking of buying, and they're going to do this manufacturing thing. We're going to watch it at midnight.
Okay, this is just crazy. Okay, you're not a moron. So you know there is no way in a million years I am going to agree to all three of those things. I'm sorry. I am not doing the Valentine's Day message.
Well, then I'm not doing it either.
What's it on, by the way?
Communication.
Maybe we should do it.
Maybe you should do it.
Okay, no, seriously, that was 99%. Thank you. I wish that was all acting, but no, it's actually not. So that was 99%. I'm serious. This was 99% of the conversation. But I will say, I did not call him a moron or insinuate he was a moron.
She said, I'm not a moron.
So Mike and I have been married for 32 years, and we have 5 kids. So we've had lots and lots of opportunity to practice bad communication and try to get better with our communication. And we came into our marriage really from very, very different backgrounds. And so you all know we have not arrived, clearly by that skit, which is truth. You can see we did not arrive. But we came into the marriage with very different backgrounds and very different role models of what communication looked like in a family. We met in college in Miami, where I have to admit I went to party.
And I went to find Jesus.
So that really shows you how different we were. But I was immediately drawn to his godly character and his quiet and strong demeanor.
And I was attracted to, well, this. And also I was attracted to how fearless she was and so full of life. And nothing went through Holly's mind that she didn't express right outward. And I love that.
Yeah, which we know is not all good.
No, but I love that. And, you know, we were just so different, sometimes polar opposites. I was brought up in a home where there wasn't a lot of soul bearing. We avoided conflict. And if you had an issue, well, you put it in the right place, under the rug. For later.
And I grew up in a family where, honestly, there was a lot of fighting. There was 5 kids, not the best marriage of my parents, and really what it was the loudest person got heard. So everybody would just get louder and louder. And I remember one particular time that it was a bad fight, and our stove ended out on the front lawn because my mother complained about the color of the stove. And they were fighting, and I remember all of us kids were under the table crying about the fight. And after the fight, my dad came to me and he said, Holly, don't worry. Your mom and I fight because we love each other so much. You see, we wouldn't fight so much if we didn't really care what the other one thinks. So that's why we fight. And, my 7-year-old brain thought, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so honestly, from 7 years on, they would fight and I would be like, okay, they love each other. That's how it works. So even though that sounds so silly, it's amazing what you carry into your marriage. So when Mike and I got married, I wanted him to know how much I loved him.
And boy, did I know. Woo! Remote controls flying, buttons being pushed, words being used that I would never think to use. We are opposites. Holly would actually try to make me mad by starting fights. You got any of those out there? I just want to see if I can make him mad. And it would take me a long time to get mad because that's so new to me. All this was just so new to me. And we had just so many things to undo from what was modeled to us throughout the years in communication. We had some bad habits that needed help.
Yeah.
So there's lots in this area we're going to talk about today. We're just going to unpack a few of the areas of what God has taught us and tools for healthy communication. And our prayer is that these tools are going to help you in all of your relationships throughout life. So let's start with prayer. Father, we just want to pray first because we know you are the master of effective communication. You have all truth, and you want us to receive it. You want us to have clarity and how to have great, effective relationships so we can do your work and your will in this world, so we can have great marriages, great families, great relationships under your heaven and under your control and power, Lord. We love you, and we want to receive what you have for us today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so first thing, bad communication destroys relationships. How many of you agree with that? Bad communication destroys relationships. We've seen it in way too many marriages. Demands are being made by yelling at each other, no one agreeing on how to do things properly. People are at each other's throats all the time. In-laws only coming over for Easter, maybe Christmas. And marriages, believe it or not, usually end long before the paperwork is signed. Marriages end when the communication stops. And honestly, because Holly and I are so polar opposites in so many areas, this is where we would be if God didn't intervene and show us some better ways to communicate with each other. Because healthy communication and effective communication is a part of every healthy relationship. All right, your turn.
Oh. This is going to be funny because I'm just going to tell him something that happens all the time. When we preach together, he steals the stuff I'm supposed to say, and I steal the stuff he's supposed to say. So it ends up being later that we end up getting in the worst fight. No, I'm just kidding. We really don't. Right? Anyway, today we're going to be talking about 5 powerful tools of communication that will strengthen all your relationships if you apply them. Can I just really say that? Because I know a lot of you are going to be like, okay, Holly, that's not new to us. We know to do that. Here's the thing. You might know to do it, but it doesn't mean you're doing it. So really, you've got to put these things into practice. And we figured out that we have to use these tools if we want to stay married and in love. No doubt about it. Using all the tools we find in the Bible is why we have such a strong and passionate marriage. And I promise you, if you apply these tools to your relationships, they can be transformed. The relationship with your boss that seems to hate you can be transformed. The relationship with your ex over the kids and who's getting them. The relationship with your in-laws. The relationship with that family member that you haven't talked to in years can be restored. The relationship with that wacky neighbor who keeps calling code enforcement on you. We all have one of those. The relationship with your spouse who maybe has been sleeping on the couch for the last 6 months. Use these methods, use these tools, and you will see changes in those relationships.
And we want to be really, really honest. In case you think it's easy, this is not easy. It's not easy for us. It's a lot of hard work. 32 years, 6 months, and 7 days of hard work.
I don't know if that's a good thing that he said that or a bad thing that he said that.
And the work or the effort comes in 3 areas. I just want to share these with you because they're so important, okay? The first area is discipline.
I hate discipline.
Discipline. You have to stay consistent at using these tools. If it doesn't work tonight or this week, you stick at it. Stay with it. It'll start working. Number 2, be teachable. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't think, hey, this is the way it is, this is the way it's always going to be. You can learn and grow. And if you open your heart, you can learn and grow to be an effective communicator with your spouse and everybody else
Any
in your
age,
relationship.
no matter how long you've been married.
And the last one is humility. Someone say humility. How many of that's the secret sauce to all this anyway? Be humble. Be humble. You know, God wants to grow you, and He wants to make you an effective communicator so He can use you more effectively. So just be humble and say, God, teach me through this. I want to grow. I want to be better at this. So these are going to be some powerful tools for you. If you got your Bibles, pull them out, or your smartphones. We handed out notes. You'll want to have those notes. Take notes. Don't just walk out of here and forget everything you heard. Take notes and apply it. So let's get moving.
Okay, the first tool is the power of listening. And we've got a little skit for you again, but this one is based on a Monday at a workplace. And I'm the boss coming in to talk to Brad. Brad, have you filed that report yet?
I did.
I need you to get that report filed because it's going to be so incredibly important that Brad, could you pay attention here?
No, I can do both. Go ahead. I got you. Writing it down.
Okay. Well, I need those papers to be brought down to the insurance agency. And by the way, when you're down there, could you ask them, does that insurance policy cover if we do like a team building thing out at the park?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks, Brad. Friday. Hey, Brad, just checking in. I wanted to make sure we've got that plan for next Monday about using the park. And you didn't get back to me, so I'm assuming the policy is fine. It's going to cover if we take our team over to the park.
The park?
Yeah,
You
remember,
didn't say anything about the park?
You went to the insurance agent.
Insurance agency, check papers. There's
know
nothing
that
about
I told.
a park.
Okay.
You did not say
All
anything
right,
about a park.
whatever.
No park.
Okay.
I didn't hear park.
How many times does this happen? This happens all of the time. And what happens when this happens is you lose respect for each other. Because truly, Brad believes he never told me, and I know I told him, and we go back and forth forever, but he's just not going to believe it, and I'm not going to believe him. So it breaks down respect, and it breaks down trust for one another, and it hurts in every area of our life, marriage and in the workplace. And in our world, we actually celebrate all the time being able to multitask. How do you multitask? There's articles and articles about it, but try to do it all the time. And you are going to find that you absolutely 100% cannot do it. You cannot be on your phone. You cannot be on your computer. You cannot be watching TV. I know we all say we can. I mean, I know I've said I can. But the truth is we can't, no matter how good we think we are.
And the truth is we live in a world where people don't listen well. Most of the world does not listen well. Amen? Have you noticed this? Look on social media. People are so consumed with getting their opinions out that they really didn't read the article that they're slamming because their comments have nothing to do with the article or the video they just watched. I got to get my opinion out. I got to get my fact out. They're just slamming. They're just getting it out. We want to be right all the time. Unfortunately, we want to win that battle being right. We end up losing all the wars of a relationship in so many of our lives. James 1:19 says this, be quick to listen. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. What we found is listening is about 80% of good communication. So close it and listen. We have 2 ears. We have 1 mouth. What does that tell you? We should be listening more. It's a reminder to what's important. Listening is a key to healthy relationships. And why is that?
Why? Because listening shows that we value the people around us. And everybody wants to be heard. One of the greatest gifts you can give a person is to give them that attentive ear. Looking someone actually straight in the eye and listening to them says, I value you. I value what you have to say. You're important enough to stop what I'm doing. Listening brings understanding. For any relationship to be successful, you need to understand each other. When I'm saying is much more important, and don't finish people's sentences. How many of you find that you're around people where you start to talk and they're just immediately like just jumping in and finishing your sentence? Anybody? I know that this is something that I have definitely done, and I've actually learned something about this that I didn't realize. It's disempowering people. In my mind, I always thought like, oh, I'm showing them like we're on the same page. Yeah, I got you. I can finish the sentence. But what I realized, it's actually disempowering them, and it puts them in a place where you now gain control of that conversation, and it devalues their thoughts, and it devalues their feelings. And it's a way to wreck the relationship. We want to hear people's feelings, and we want to hear their thoughts so we can understand them better.
You know, at this stage, it really doesn't matter if you agree with them or not. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but if you care more for the person than you care for the fact or being right, something changes in that. You're not trying to die on the hill of being right. You're trying to fight for great relationships, right? You're trying to fight for great relationships. But fighting doesn't get you there to great relationships. You're fighting for something, not against somebody, right? So you have a choice to make here. You can either be right or you can be married. I think Zig Ziglar said that.
That's a good one.
You can either be right or you can be married or have a great relationship. So listening, here's a key thing. Listening is done with the heart. The ears, they hear words, but the heart listens deeper into what's going on in the soul, how she feels, what he really needs. And then you take that in, and then you meditate on it, and then you know what to do with it. Then do something about it. Take it in, listen to it, and then apply what you've heard. Being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they're almost indistinguishable. Hear that again. Being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they're almost indistinguishable. So here's some next steps. You can write these down if you don't have your notes out in front of you. Put things down, phones, laptops, anything else. Put them down when somebody you're in a relationship wants to talk to you, and listen attentively. Listen to them. You know what that says? I love you enough to pay attention. Just do it. Make it a practice. Number 2, try to pause before responding and see what effect that has on your conversation. Give it a few seconds. Awkward silence is not bad, but really take it in, take a pause, and before you respond. And the other thing is schedule in times of communication, because we're all busy, and if you don't make a schedule and get out for some coffee dates now and then and just to communicate, you're going to find yourself never communicating effectively.
In a marriage, one thing Mike and I found with 5 kids at home is that we would do couch time. And that meant that I would be home with the kids all day. Mike would end up coming home, and we would basically say, like, kids, you know, we love you, but it's really important Mommy and Daddy have time. It's okay to teach them that, because they take that healthy thing into their marriage. And we would sit for 20 minutes, and I wouldn't be like, how was your day? Because he would say, good. How was your day? Awful. That would be how the conversation would go. And instead it's, tell me about your day. And he would say, tell me about your day. And we would make a point 20 minutes after he had a little bit of time when he first came home, 20 minutes to be able to sit and chat. And it's so healthy for your marriage.
Right. So the second tool is the power of being interested. The power of being interested. Everyone wants to be and feel known. Everyone wants to feel that someone is interested in them. I believe that over 90% of marriages that are struggling because their spouse doesn't feel like the other spouse is even interested anymore. So we hear things like, well, yeah, you go ahead and go away for the weekend, whatever, I got things to do with the girls, or yeah, sure, whatever you want to do tonight. So little interest in what's going on in each other's lives. And I know what you're saying, especially if you've been married for a while. How much more can I learn about the person? I already know everything there is to know, right? Well, listen, if you know about life, you change from season to season. You have new thoughts in new seasons, right? And you start thinking about new things, imagining what you'd rather be doing with your life. You change, and you need to take interest, because they're not going to share things with you if you're not showing an interest in them.
And we don't want to be that couple that we've all seen, right, at the restaurant, that couple that's sitting across from each other, and they literally, you'll sit there the whole time and you see those people never say one word to each other. I think that's everybody's fear. We don't want to be that couple that just sits there going, we have nothing to say to each other. The power of being interested isn't just for marriage. It helps us make friends and connect with people better. One of my favorite books is by John Maxwell, and it's called Winning with People. And in that book, he talks about the fact that there was a woman on a cruise, and everybody was like, you got to meet Glenda. Glenda's amazing. Hey, have you met Glenda? She's so awesome. I was out with Glenda last night. She was so fantastic. And he's like, I got to meet this girl, Glenda. What is it about Glenda that's so interesting? And it wasn't what was interesting about Glenda. It was that Glenda was interested in everybody. She would meet people, and she would be like, well, what do you do? I love that. Tell me more about what you do. Oh, you have 5 kids. Where do they live? She was so interested in everything they did. It was such a great lesson that I learned in that book. And I told my kids, like, you all have to read this this book because it's a great book. And I remember my son Dakota at 16 years old. He read the book and he's like, well, I'm going to try it. Because, of course, they're like, yeah, let's see if this really works. And a friend of Mike's came over who was in his 30s. And Dakota started talking to him and started just asking him all about what he's interested in. Found out he was interested in hunting. Found out he loved four-wheeling. By the end of the time, Dakota came to me and said, Mom, you're never going to believe this. I'm going hunting and four-wheeling with this guy in a couple weeks. Oh, my gosh, it really worked. I mean, that's amazing when your kids actually listen to you and they actually learn something from you. And so that was a really cool opportunity for Dakota to learn, and just take that with you too. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people to be interested in you.
I heard a stat one day that said 70% of all people who had affairs said they did so because somebody showed interest in them.
Yeeks.
Wasn't for looks, it was somebody showed interest in them. They were starving for somebody to do that. The power of interest, people, are found not in just looking interested, but in asking the right questions. Do we ask the right questions? Jesus only answered 3 questions, but he asked 307 questions. 307 to 3. Why? He was interested in us, where we were in the journey, and how he can help and jump in. The world is full of people making statements, but not asking questions. Holly and I have been in situations where we've taken people out and asked a lot of questions to get to know somebody, and then we're amazed that they didn't ask us any questions.
Yeah, we met this couple in Dallas, and we're like, we want to get to know them. They just had such a cool background and things we were interested in ministry, and so we went out with them. They literally talked about themselves the entire time. They never asked us one question, and we left there, and yet we felt really like we had no value, but we also said, you know what? Let's make sure we never do that to anybody. So we made a point when we go out to people to ask a lot of questions and get to know them, because it doesn't feel good when people never ask you anything.
So how many questions do you ask in your relationship right now? See, the right question can open up the door to the soul and make someone feel known. And when they feel known, they trust you. And you're never going to trust somebody unless you feel like you're known by them.
Do you make a point to be interested in what your spouse is interested in, or your friends, or your kids? Do you ask them what they're interested in? Or do you only talk about your interests? I know recently one of my kids talked to me, and we're in business together. We talk a lot about business. And he said to me, Mom, I feel like you don't really ever ask questions about me, that we're always talking about business. And you know what? I love that we have a good enough relationship that he said that to me, because I'm so intentional about that with other people. But we need to be that way with our kids as well. And truly, it kind of hurt me, but I'm glad he said it, because I don't want to do that to him. And oftentimes that happens even as Christians, because we know we should be telling people about Jesus. So the only thing we ever talk about is Jesus. And you know what? There are times that we need to actually go, let's ask them about what they're interested in. And the Holy Spirit will open up that door for them to ask us about Jesus. But they're not going to be interested. They're going to feel like they're an agenda on our list if literally that's all we ever talk about. So sometimes you don't need to talk about Jesus or ministry to actually make a deep connection with somebody. And if you're finding it hard to make friends or feel closely connected to your spouse, choose to be interested in what they're interested in. You'll be amazed at how the relationship grows.
So ask yourself this. In my relationships right now in my life, do I ask people deeper questions? Questions about their family. Do I know more about their family? Am I always asking their questions about that? Do I know about their feelings on things? Not just do they like the Steelers like I do, and they should, but I know about what they feel about some things. But here's the thing, and we try to teach this to all our leaders here at Life Goes, feelings are just a signal that there's a fear underneath. Do I know about my friends, my wife's fears, her deep fears? And do I know where she stands in faith as it overcomes those fears? How many questions do I ask to actually get to know, here's what she's afraid of, here's how I can encourage her to have more faith to conquer those fears? Do I ask those kind of questions?
So we need to go deeper. So think about what those questions could be. Some of those questions might be, what is God doing in your life? I mean, that's such a great question to ask people. Mike recently used this on me, which was wonderful. He said to me, Holly, I know you're going through some stuff. How can I be a better friend to you? And you know how that made me feel? First of all, it made me feel like, you know what? He's been listening to my fears. He's been listening to the emotional part of me that's kind of struggling with friendships. And I love that he loves me so much that he said, how can I be that friend to you? So ask that question. Make the people around you feel loved and known. Are you asking those types of questions so that people around you know that you care about them? And make a point to think about, what would those questions be? What are those questions? When we first moved down here as church planters 15 years ago, I had 5 kids. They were all under like 13 or 12. And we were like, hey, go meet a friend. Hey, go talk to that person. Hey, you're the pastor's kids. You got to go talk to everybody who comes in the door. Don't ever do that to your kids, by the way. But anyway, we did it. And it's so nerve-wracking because they were like, I don't know what to say. And so we taught them, always have 4 questions in your back pocket, because it is sometimes hard to start conversations with people. And so I'm encouraging you guys, even adults, no matter who you are, have 4 questions in your back pocket. Things like, well, what do you like about living in Palm Coast? That's not a dead-end question. If you say, how long have you lived in Palm Coast? They're going to say 4 years, and then the conversation's over. Instead, what do you like about living in Palm Coast? Or what are some things you like to do in your free time? That opens up opportunity to find out a little bit more about them that you might have connections with. So go deeper in your conversations.
And for me, and what I've learned, how many introverts do we have in the room? How many introverts that don't want to raise your hand because you're an introvert? When you're talking with somebody, the first thing you can do to show them you're not interested is don't look at them. Because we don't like eyeballs staring at us, so we tend to look around like this. I just grew up like this. But the best thing you can do to show interest is continue looking at them.
And the reason Mike knows this is because when Mike and I met, when we were in college, I was like, hey, I'm over here. Because he would never look at me in the eyes. He would always be talking to me, but he'd be looking off in the distance. And I'm like, well, people aren't going to trust you, one. And it seems like you're so uninterested in me. And he's like, I'm so interested in you. And I'm then look me in the eyes, please. And I see this with people not realizing that they end up, people around you will actually think you're not interested if you find that you're looking at the floor or your eyes are going everywhere else. Make a point to have eye contact when you're talking. It's a simple thing.
You just didn't know how intimidating you were. So a few tips on being interested. Number 1, if you hear something, a nugget or something deeper, repeat it. Say, I think I heard you say this. That'll help you remember it, and it'll tell them that you're listening to them. The second thing is, don't stop with one question. Ask second and third questions, because now you're going to go a little bit deeper and say, well, why do you feel like that? Or what happened that made you feel like that? You get into some deeper things, feelings and fears, and now there's a real spirit connection being made. Now, men, I want to give you just a piece of gold this morning. It's 3 words that'll make you a hero in every woman's life, okay? 3 words. When she comes to you and you ask how her day was, she explains her day, and then use 3 words. And what else? What else happened? Those are the 3 words that say, I want to keep talking. Not, oh, that's good, honey. And she was like, he really is interested. Amazing, okay? So if you want someone to be interested in you, you better take interest in them. All right, so the next tool is this, the power of celebrating your differences. How many are married or friends with somebody very different from them? How many feel annoyed by those differences? So this tool is the power of celebrating differences. Doesn't God have a sense of humor when he brings us together? It's almost like he goes, have fun with that. Have fun with this. He puts us together, and what we found out is that the differences that we had in the beginning that attracted us to each other annoy the heck out of us later on in life. Am I right? Because early on, it's like this.
Mike, oh my goodness, I just love how laid back he is.
And I love how direct and just straight to the point she is.
32 years later. Why are you so slow? Do you have a problem?
My goodness, do you have any feelings, woman? I don't know anyone more rude and blunt. Ugh. Hey, anyone else have those kind of conversations? Have that epiphany? People who recognize and then celebrate differences have stronger relationships. God designed every one of us, even in our differences. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, David says in the Psalms. That means God made us different for a reason, not to aggravate and annoy each other, but to work together because we're complete with one another. But that takes work, right?
Yes.
God didn't say, I'm giving you a piece of cake. I'm making you work for this. Just like in 1 Corinthians 12, he says, just as the body, though one, has many parts, but all with its many parts form one body. You've got an eye, a hand, a foot. We think differently, we operate differently, but we're made to be complete for each other. We're made to fulfill one another. So different is good. Say that with me. Different is good. Now look at your spouse or your friend and say, different is good. Say it right now. Okay. You got to believe it, or you're going to walk right out there and start getting annoyed again. That's not God's plan. And it's not enough just to know we're different. We have to understand the differences. Not just, man, you're crazy different than I am. You drive me crazy. You drive me nuts. You have to understand the differences and how they can work together. It's not in our differences that divide us, but in our inability to work together and celebrate those differences. If we can do that, we stay united.
And in our businesses, we always have our employees take personality tests. And I know a lot of people hate personality tests because it's like, don't pigeonhole me. We're all uniquely made. And that's very, very true. But I will tell you, having a business and having employees, it has been so helpful to be able to understand their personality, how they're wired. So we'll have them take a DISC test or an Enneagram test. And there's actually spiritual tests that you can take to know what your spiritual gifts are. And we encourage you to do that because in business, what I found is I worked with my daughter Chelsea, and Chelsea is a very detailed person, and that's such a gift, and I need that because, as you can probably tell, I'm way out here all the time, and she would help me get down to the details of things so that we could actually move the company forward, and that was really important. And so it was always helpful to know where people kind of stood on that, because I know, should I just get right to the point because they're that kind of person, they're going to need it, they're a strong personality, and they need me to just say it as it is, straight as it is, or do they need to have a little fun, and I have to be soft and kind of come around different directions. It's very, very helpful. And if you're a married couple, go read The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. That's also very helpful to understand how you receive love and how you perceive love, because Mike and I are very different. My love language is if he comes and cleans the house, oh, baby, you are sexy and amazing. However, so if he serves me, now his personality is he just needs to know he's appreciated. So I need to tell him, you're awesome, you're wonderful. The funny thing is when I try to serve him, he doesn't even get it. He doesn't even say thank you. And I'm like, what? But when I understood our personalities, that's the way God made us. It really helped our marriage be better because we could love each other the way we needed to love each other and the way we appreciated that love. Also, understanding if you're an internal processor or an external processor is really important. I am clearly an external processor, so everything that comes in my brain, which it shouldn't, usually comes out of my mouth. Where I will say a question, he will sit there for like forever and not say anything. And I have to admit, there's times I go, hello, did you hear me? And then I remember, wait a minute, you know what? He's not slow. It really is. It really is that he's an internal processor, and he's actually really thinking some amazing thoughts in there. At least that's what he tells me.
So what's making me laugh is I'm looking at my kids laughing because they know that too. They ask me questions. I'm thinking through all the ramifications and the what ifs could happen. And like, Dad. I'm thinking it out. All right, so how many have somebody that's so different in their life, marriage or kids or relationship, right? Here's some next steps you have to get at as soon as you can. Commit to taking one of these tests, spiritual gifts test, DISC test, Enneagram test, to find out your differences and then talk about it. Come to an understanding of how you can help each other, why God has brought you together. I would recommend reading The 5 Love Languages. It's not just for married couples.
Yeah, that's true.
You can understand your kids and how they're wired, how they give and receive love. Your friends, if you love to buy gifts for somebody and it's their birthday and you keep buying them flowers, or you keep buying them gifts and they don't receive the love that way, they're like, oh, thanks. And you're like, what a lousy friend. They would rather you just hang out with them, and they don't need a gift. So it's really helpful for you to do that. You understand relationships and each other a lot better.
So the fourth tool is the power of your words. Ooh, this is a hard one. There are so many great verses in the Bible that we have absolutely no excuse to say that we don't get this one down. Proverbs 18:21 is one of them. The tongue has the power of life and death. We cannot tell you how many times Mike and I have been in the presence of other couples and just be blown away by the meanest things that they have said to each other in front of us. Things like, what an idiot, or you're such a moron, I don't even understand why I ever married you. And let me tell you, that is like taking a sledgehammer to the foundation of your marriage. Truly it is. So please, If you do that with your spouse, just stop. Stop right now, because you really are just walking yourself right into divorce. We need to speak life into people. If you allow this type of talk to happen, then you truly are just setting yourself up for divorce. Speak life. I love that saying that talks about elevators. We're all an elevator. You can either take people up or you're going to take people down. And another saying that's a really cute one is that people are either going to be really excited when you walk into a room or really excited when you leave the room. Make sure you're the excited when you walk in a room.
So let's just act this out just real quick. This is real life scenario, and we're sitting down at the couch. You're watching your favorite Hallmark movie. I love Hallmark movies. And I just get the Steeler game on.
Hey, what are you doing? I was watching that movie.
Hey, babe, 4 o'clock. I told you days ago. 4 o'clock's the Steeler game. We're watching the Steeler game.
You always watch the game.
That's right.
I never get to enjoy the things that I like. You're so selfish.
I'm selfish.
You know what? I'll just go in the
they
other
play
room.
once a week, and they're only on TV every other week.
Fine, I'll just go in the other room, because I know I'm never going to change your mind, because you
fine.
always do this.
I didn't want to be with you
always get your way.
You just ruin things. You ruined my good time here. I was going to invite some friends over, but I thought you'd just start a fight anyway, and you did just want to start a fight, so it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Are you serious? You're really going to do that?
Well,
You're really going to do that?
when we dated, you said you like sports. You lied. You said you liked the Steelers in my jersey shirt.
You know what? You lied, because you said you loved me.
Hey, you know what? Satan is really the liar here. Satan is the liar and ends us in this trap all the time. Here's what Proverbs is really saying is this. Every time you speak, you're either partnering with God or partnering with Satan. That's your choice. Every time you speak. Here's some ways we can partner with Satan.
So, with harsh words, I'm going to be honest. I struggle with this. I know when... I see all my kids shaking their head. Mom struggles with this. I was brought up in a family with my mom was awesome, and she was my biggest encourager. But she also was that mom that would say, "Are you going to wear that? You look like a potato sack in that." Or I remember one time being in the pool, and she was like, we were swimming in a pool, and she looks at me real close, and she goes, "Did you ever break your nose?" What? What kind of mother says that? I didn't break my nose, so to this day, I'm like thinking I have a really big nose or bent nose or whatever. You know, you shouldn't do that to your kids. The bad thing is sometimes when we're brought up with those things, we just kind of take them right into with our own kids. And I've definitely done that with my own kids. And I know when I'm doing it, because I'll say something very direct, and in my brain I'm saying, I'm just being direct. And then I see the look on their face. Right, Dawson? Remember our trip to McDonald's the other day? And the look on his face is like, "Mom." And I realized, oh my goodness, okay, I just stepped over the line. And I want to say, a lot of times we'll say to the person, "Well, you know what? I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it." Well, there comes a point where you have to stop saying that, because it doesn't matter what you mean. It matters what they hear. And I'm learning this. I have to practice this all the time. Your turn, Slowpoke. Get moving. Okay, I'm still learning.
So harsh words or cutting and demeaning words. Words that cut down, right? Like moron. Even if you say, "Well, you're not a moron," you're still saying something in that. Stupid. Or, "Gee, you're fat, you're lazy." Or how about swearing? I know we're in church, none of us swear here, but we've heard it. Couples just go off, the lid blows off, and they start swearing. Guys, don't do this. Don't do this. Because you're cutting and you're slicing and you're dicing, and you can't gain that back. Once you demean somebody that way, it's just really hard to get that back. Just practice closing it up. When you're angry, you'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. Don't make that speech. Instead, choose words that partner with God in that person. God's working on all of us. You're going to partner with Him in that person by using these words. Number one, gentle words. Proverbs 15 says this, "Gentle words bring life and health." Gentle words bring life and health. In the midst of conflict, you can still bring life and health. Be that person. To lift somebody up, bring life and health. Number two, encouraging words. Proverbs 18 says a person's words can be life-giving water to a thirsty soul. We have thirsty souls in front of us. Even in the midst of arguments, they're thirsty for encouragement. And you can be that person that gives that life-giving water. Like Holly said, we can all be an elevator. Do you want to be an elevator up or an elevator down in somebody's life? Choose to take somebody up, even in conflicting moments.
Sorry, I stole that from you a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry. Ephesians 4:29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome words come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs." When I really thought about this verse, that part, according to their needs, what a cool thing to do, that our words are supposed to be wholesome, like Mike just talked about, but actually our words should be thoughtful to go, is this actually going to help this person's needs and not our own? So here's a great tip to make sure your words are wholesome, using an acronym. Think before you speak, and it's the word think. T is for true. H is for helpful. I is it inspiring? N is, are these words necessary? And K is, are these words kind? It's really important that if you use these words, you're going to partner with God. But if you don't, you are partnering with the enemy. And I'm going to tell you, when we partner with the enemy, it comes back to us. If we're using those kind of words or talking about people, it will end up coming back to bite you, and you will hurt people when you do that. What you say matters. You can't take words back, even if you try. So be careful what you say.
And here's one challenge we have for you for this week. Try to say one positive, uplifting thing in each of your relationships this week and see what happens in those relationships. Just think ahead of time, what can I say when I meet James this week? What can I say that's uplifting when I see Ghana this week? What can I say? And think about it, and then dispense those life-giving words and see what happens. Journal what happens. And I'm telling you, you'll become an addict because you'll change lives and relationships every time. All right, here's a conclusion for you as we're wrapping up. It's our fifth tool, but we're calling it the conclusion just to let you know, hey, we're winding down. That's a good thing. Lunch is coming up. We're going to go talk about our relationships. The fifth one is the power of perspective. Having the right perspective. Perspective is everything in life, especially when it's the heavenly perspective. Ephesians 6:12 says this, "Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." This is our struggle. This is our battle. So listen carefully. Every relationship you have is under attack. It has a target on it. There's no neutral zones. Jesus says that Satan wants to steal, kill, and destroy, and as Jesus wants to advance his kingdom through our relationships, that means Satan will do everything possible to destroy your marriage, your family, your friends, and even your church relationships. This is what he's about all the time. Every communication is under attack. Satan doesn't want healthy relationships because if you and your spouse get in sync with your relationship, you will be a powerhouse for the kingdom. Satan doesn't want that. If you get in sync with your children and what God's doing in them and their purpose for life, they become world changers. Satan doesn't want that. If you connect in with people in the church family and you build each other's faith, encourage each other to share your faith, you will change the community. You think Satan wants that? No. It's a full-fledged, all-out attack. So every conversation in your home, at work, and even in here has a target on it, and Satan will use your differences, your weaknesses, and your miscommunication against you. Am I preaching? I feel like I got to go here. Come on. This is the battle. It's not he's different or they're selfish. Satan is bigger than you. And you have to understand that. Put your armor on, people. Understand what we're doing here, people. If you can have this kind of perspective, you can fully see that your spouse is not your enemy. Your friend is not your enemy. Your children are not your enemy. Your Christian friends in church that bumped up against you and got coffee on you and seemed snooty is not your enemy. God has put them in our life to help each other grow and be equipped in Jesus Christ. So you have to fight against Satan's attacks. Here's a few ways. Assume the best. Assume the best out of everybody. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen when you assume the best? Assume there was a misunderstanding, miscommunication. Assume they have a good heart. When we choose to believe the best in people, it brings out the best in people. Holly she taught me this a long time ago. If you treat somebody the way they are, watch what they will stay. Treat who they become, watch what they'll become. So important to do. Assume the best. And I previewed myself on the second one. View people as a completion, as Jesus does. He doesn't look at you where you are right now. He looks at you as how He created you to fully be. And His Spirit guides you and directs you into that. That's how we treat each other. Not like, oh, so-so and yo-ya and da-da-da-da. No, like, I see what Jesus sees in you, and I want to help you get there, and I'm going to speak to you like that. Does that make sense? We want to help each other become the completed project so we're more useful for Jesus Christ. And the last thing is this: walk in grace and forgiveness. We are a people of grace and forgiveness. It's been lavished upon us, but we don't seem to dispense it at all. We hoard it. If you understand that this is war and we're all full of shrapnel from the enemy, then we can walk in compassion and grace for others, even in conflict. Gracious people are just more influential and compelling towards Jesus. Gracious people are just more compelling towards Jesus. See, grace really is the secret sauce to all our secret, successful relationships. And people, forgive, 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 forgive. We could write a whole sermon or a series on that because Jesus says 7 times, 70 times must we forgive each other. 7 times. Now, I understand we might be in a toxic relationship where you need to remove yourself and go get help. I get that. But this is in normal relationships. Forgive more, just as you've been forgiven. And forgiveness is not an emotion, it's an obedience. So try to forgive. And that means spouses, don't be getting historical with each other. You know, you can get hysterical, right? But we know we can probably more so get historical. That means bringing up all the old past stuff and piling it on, which squashes any hope of successful relationships. Don't do that. Lower your expectations, people. Jesus is working on all of us. Laugh more. Please laugh more. Even when you're fighting, we try to throw tricks out there and get the other one to laugh. You're right. I might be a moron. I might be kind of idiot.
Say moron.
I know. You're right. I wasn't listening. And we laugh. Laugh more. Try to laugh more. Take criticism lightly. Don't get so offended. Take in the meat and spit out the bones. She might have constructive truths for me to hear, but if I don't like the vehicle, so what? I want to learn and grow because I want to be teachable. Take it in, spit out the bones. Find truth. Strive for peace. These are weapons of war, and Satan's the enemy. Grace, forgiveness, peace, truth, compassion, understanding. Let's do everything in God's power within you and me to beat Satan and what he's trying to do and live for one another. I think it's time to kick some dark, evil booty, don't you? Because he's having a way with us, and we need to get him away from us through love and peace. Because when we take this perspective and strive to communicate better, there's no stopping us, people. No stopping us from changing this world for Jesus. Why don't we all stand? I would say we got a little bit more work to do on effective communication. It's in our marriages, in our families, workplaces, and even in the church family. But this is what God is doing in us, so we have to commit to it. Show of hands right now, who wants to commit to being better at communicating? Take it to heart, take some notes home, and practice these things. You'll get addicted because they work. Father, we thank you for this day. We commit it to you. We thank you for what you're doing in us.